song is going to be very significant later. Hey guys, welcome to another chapter of Conquest of the Blue Planet. Last time, I had some recording problems and some audio issues because I wasn't able to complete it. Anyways, we just found out that Cecil is actually a part of Domin and his tribe. He was brainwashed, and Domin just retrieved all the elemental crystals. Everyone was reveling in their victory since they have half of the Earth's crystals, according to him. And Cain and Yang have actually enlisted the help of Edge and Bieblon 4, along with the monks and the dragoons. So all 4 crystals have been stolen and gathered, and they make their way to Tenebre. And Rydia and the Eidolons have actually noticed the Injukhal's prowess from the drums, making a young bomb explode and die on impact. It left a daddy bomb mourning, a dark bomb mourning over it. And Rydia declared war on the Injukhal, so the Eidolons made it post-haste onto the airship, which is as I would like to call the Fleet of Hope. They actually played their main theme last time. So they make their way to Tenebre, and Palom and Porom have actually been rescued by Cecil once he returned to his senses. So, war has been declared. Let's get this going, shall we? Alright, Chapter 5. The battle is finally beginning. Cecil has returned to his senses and is vowing to redeem himself, as he'll face against the evil chieftain Domin. Will he succeed and obtain the glamour greens? Will Rosa give in to her complications? Will the world plunge into darkness? War has been declared at Tenebre, and fate is hanging in the balance. Escaped? Find him! Search for that impudent traitor! He has to be here! Domin became enraged after his cronies informed him that the hostages awaiting death, Palom and Porom, have been rescued. By the Paladin, no less. He was once a loyal subject in the darkness. A monk bowed to him as he gave Domin a large spiky club, clapped it on his palm, drank more of the blood from a gold chalice. His determination grew, and he ordered his men to spread out. Find Cecil, and bring him to me, alive. Meanwhile, the Paladin teleported from Mysidia. I must return here, even if it would cost my mind again. Rosa's life depends on the glamour greens, and I must put an end to Domin and his tyrannical reign. There will be no safe haven as long as he exists. Made a soliloquy. He knew the first place to find his assailant would be at the village. With his renewed strength, he marched toward it. To his surprise, it was empty. No one was around, not even the Injukhal. He then memorized his pathway to the area where they danced to the drums and skulls. His body and mind were trying to adjust as he gazed at the horrid place. Crystals were still in the pit, floating freely. As he heard a rustle within the forest, he followed a few stragglers. They must lead him to their master. He was sure of it. Domin got more and more agitated by the minute. He couldn't wait to give Cecil his ongoing wrath, even if it means to mesmerize him again. That white bastard! Where could he have gone? All of his men spread out their search. I will have the death of him. I swear it. He emerged into an opening from the thick wood. Looking for me? The head chief looked around for the source of the voice. I know it's you, Cecil. Come out and show me your will. Amongst the brush, he was watching them the whole time, just waiting to make his move. I won't let you enslave the entire world for your own evil ends. I prevented Zeromus from doing so, and I'm here to do the same to you. Drew out his Excalibur and his shield. That just leaves you and me, Domin. His enemy just grinned. So be it, Cecil. I've been waiting for you to show me your true strength. To his servants he ordered, Leave us. I will take care of this white devil myself. You will feel what it's like to suffer as a traitor. I did not betray anyone. I've only returned to my senses. Right. In that case, you're better off dead! The two clashed with one another. Sparks were flying as Cecil kept hitting and blocking Domin's powerful club. Neither side was backing down. At one point, it turned into a test as they pushed against each other with their weapons. Eventually, Cecil kicked Domin in his shin, causing him to topple over. Still, he never gave up. I respect your resolve, Cecil. You will make the perfect pawn. Paladin was astonished, and before he knew it, his enemy conjured and exhaled a strange yellow gas. I made this up, by the way. His energy was being sapped. His head became foggy, sunk to his knees. My breath has made you weak and exhausted, Cecil. This time you cannot resist me. Ziphon cue drums were beating in the distance. Through his blurry vision, he was dozing on and off. Hear them once more. They are calling me. Little to no endurance, he was easily swept away. The thick purple cloud hung over the island. From above it looked as if it was pulsating. Each shockwave increased in volatility and length. It actually caused the airship to fall. Everyone held on for dear life. The effect was too much. Kane lost control. Brace for crash landing! Everyone ducked for cover while the Eidolons scattered, suffering from their angst. The vessel nosedived and destroyed several trees in its path. Absorbing the intriguing moment, his strength returned. He slowly stood up, withdrew his sword, faced his master with his eyes illuminated. As if he was talking telepathically, Domin whispered, Yes, I'm offering you a final chance to return to my side. Become one of the Injukhal again, and serve us well. He made a kowtow. My chieftain walked up to him and laid a hand on his shoulder. Then the sinister atmosphere started to dissipate as if the sun or some radiant light had somehow broken through. What? What's going on? What's happening to the darkness? The familiar tune was heard from a harp, which you've heard, actually. What the hell is this? Why is it stopping my drum line? Holy Knight eventually made the connection. It's Edward's harp. He's reversing Domin's thrall. Followed the sound to a small patch of rocks while the bard kept playing. Cecil was glad for his effort, just as he did when he used the whisper weed against the dark elf. In the game, in the Lodestone Cavern, you have to get the whisper weed first. You have to visit Edward in the infirmary, otherwise you'll never win. Some Injukhals grabbed the defenseless bard by the arms, dropped the harp. Ah! The Paladin stood in fear. Edward! Cecil! Step back from there or he dies! He saw Domin appear before them. Kill him! He perishes! No! Edward could hardly make a sound as he was completely stunned both by fear and the Injukhal's threats. Two warriors went down as they were kicked from behind. High-class monk freed them. So, it was you who took advantage over my home and my people. Young! Cecil was ecstatic, though disappointed to see him since he defied orders. Edward was still stunned as he slowly rose up. You will pay for this insolence! Sent out condors. Heads up, Young and Edward! Edge and his ninjas stood at a distant cliff. He and Gase powered up and unleashed their fury. They formed a tornado, blowing away the unsuspecting fowls. Descended safely to the ground in front of Cecil and the others. Kane was on top of his mentor's shoulders when the funnel disappeared after they stopped spinning. Looks like the birds of prey became our prey, the prince said proudly. Glad to see you not having your head in the drums, Cecil. Edge! More enemies rushed in as the black mages fought back with their skills and the white mages were in charge of healing. Figures kept on responding. The dragoons and the monks immersed into the fight, as did Edge's disciples. A sudden idea popped into the paladin's mind. Edward, do you think you could play a song to stop the white mages from recuperating their fallen enemies? I can try. He ran toward the forest and did his musical work. While the fleet of Hope got their hands full, Cecil resumed the fight with Domin. He cured then casted Protect and Shell, and the chief lunged at him. There was no doubt Cecil's main enemy was of course Domin. Without the exhaust breath, the Paladin eventually had the upper hand thanks to his physical strength and endurance. He has some great stats. So, yeah. Chief rolled to the cliff, the waves were licking below. Cecil marched up to him. Haven't you had enough? Domin wiped away blood from his mouth. Cecil, you wouldn't kill your own master, would you? I know you. You're more merciful than this, as gentle as a sheep. A warrior of the light should never be this brutal. No, Domin, I'm not like you. He withdrew his blade. Cecil, if you spare me, I will do anything. Just name it. Run. Run away, Domin. Leave this place and free your slaves. And never return. Yes. Of course. As you wish. You gullible wretch! Ah! 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 Blinding Cecil's eyes, he used Cecil's compassion as a disadvantage. Vulnerable, Domin tackled him to the ground. Without a weapon, Cecil was indeed defenseless. When he stopped, Cecil was closer to the cliff. It was deja vu, like with Domin. Or Damien, actually. One of the combatants, Edge, noticed him hanging on like a thread. Cecil! Unfortunately, he was still being overwhelmed by his enemies, including his own kind. He still never had time to recuperate since he was desperately attempting to stay away from the destructive ocean. Now, this looks awfully familiar, doesn't it? Gave himself a few moments before he connected the dots. Oh yes, I remember. It was exactly the same way you killed our most loyal warrior, Damien. Yes? How could he know exactly how the treacherous Dark Knight was slewed? It was merely impossible. How ironic that the same thing will happen to you. That is, of course, if you are willing to join me once more. I'd feel quite ashamed to lose such a formidable and worthy adversary. Then he had a flashback to my ordeals. I must. Domin gleamed at the offer. Then he was perplexed as he willingly dropped off the cliff. Never let out a scream as he fell to his demise below, till something caught him in midair. Both Cecil and Domin were astounded. He was being carried by the mouth of an enormous monstrous serpent. A few miles away from the clashing island, there was Leviathan. Carried Cecil onto his scaly back. Rydia! You saved me. But why? After all the horrible things I've done. Shh! Not another sound. I know it wasn't entirely your fault when you gave in to Domin's thrall. Both Leviathan and Asura noticed your predicament. I vowed to stop the Injukhal, and of course my friends were willing to tag along. As for Young and the others, they just couldn't stay away anymore. Not with this threat so vile. Besides, you can't possibly do all this alone, whether Domin controls you or not. You need us, Cecil. We're here for you. This war is ours as much as anyone's, right? The first time Cecil had a loss for words. Rydia's affirmations were true. What was he going to do on his own anyway? He now knew he was being foolish. There was obviously no chance on winning their calamity with just him. Still, he can't help but feel grateful that his friends were risking their necks. You're right, Rydia. I was acting foolhardy. Then let's stop Domin before we all bow our heads to this madman. Right. Our battle awaits. Leapt off of Leviathan, later disappeared into a fireflies. She summoned her longtime partner, White. White! I haven't seen him last since we were first at the Feymark. He knew Rydia would stand a better chance thanks to his versatile skills, including a plethora of lethal black magic. Couldn't wait until what Adolans he'll become. Let's go, White. We got ourselves another war to fight. Coot beside her as he, Riddy, and Cecil raced toward the pandemonium. Paladin was desperate to find Domin. Fought off a few brainwashed enemies. Yet a sudden impact behind his neck. As he turned his head, he knew from the get-go it was Domin. You definitely are persistent, Paladin! I'll give your props for that. Knocked him down hard. He grabbed him by his long blonde locks and muttered, The chosen one. You're only that for serving me. Make your destiny, Cecil. Domination or your death. No one shall lead those puny, spoony countrymen to victory. Understood? 'Cause I do. Dropped his face hard. If all you have is power, if all you have is power, you are powerless. Is that so? Spread out his arms. The Injukhal played the drums again, causing Cecil to have intense headaches on top of the throbbing pain. Kept on fighting. Piercing through his mind, but despite his best efforts, it was still too much. A lot of the valiant combatants were struggling, and it seemed to make their enemies more stronger. The Eidolons were also suffering just as they did back in the Feymark. And the mercilessly kept wailing on them until the summoner conjured some energy. She actually used the stop spell, just as you would, using the blue dragons. Migraine died down, yet Cecil was still struck by Domin. Say your prayers, traitor! Paladin braced for the worst, then Domin was taken down by someone from above. Cecil could hardly see who the savior was. It was quite a jump. His body became less tense and the gravitational weight dissipated. He realized he was healed, either by Estra or a remedy, since he couldn't tell. It's all right. You can move now. Somehow it sounded familiar. That voice. He wasn't sure who exactly it was until the glare disappeared. The dragoon was holding out a hand for him to hold, and he smiled. Cain! Gladly took it. It's been too long, Cecil. I've heard about Rosa's ailment, but we must stop Domin at all costs. The Injukhal will pay for their insolence. Right. Paladin nodded with a small grin. With the Holy Knight and the commander of the Baron Dragoons by his side, Domin could be no match. I haven't used White very often, although some of his mini-games where increasing his stats were fun. I hardly used him in battle, and I didn't have anyone else to play with. He was adorable, but I never found him too interesting. I didn't like Rydia's math game that much, but I really loved Cecil's Dark Gauntlet. Dark Elf Gauntlet, whatever it was, Goblin Gauntlet. It was so much fun. There were some experts from The Lion King, but who cares? I mean the original, not the lame CGI version. So there's the final fight with Domin, and Cain is joining in. It's almost like how it should always be since dealing with the Mist Dragon, Odin, Bahamut, Asura, Leviathan, and Zeromus. Not him acting like a douche while being controlled by Golbez or as a backstabber in Dissidia. I can't stress it enough, they always irk me so damn much. Anyway, the next chapter would be the finale. Best of luck to both of them. I can't wait to do this. It is so exciting, I promise you that. So, stay tuned, guys.